I know that prior to her death, when I was younger, she talked about starting a small family business, but we didn't get a chance to do that. So it's always just kind of been in the back of my head. I had no idea what kind of business I wanted to start, but I know that was something that I wanted to do. And my aunt, who I'm very close to, always just instilled, financial literacy and encouraged us to think about entrepreneurship even at a younger age. Through work as a social worker, I provided a lot of support for community members. At the time, it was working with people with disabilities and just helping them navigate paperwork, different, difficult situations. And it kind of turned into a housing crisis that was happening in our community across the world, really. And credit became an issue for a lot of my clients because they couldn't get approved. So I started working with them individually and just learning, having my job send me on different trainings and picking up skills, honing my skills along the way. And then I just decided that this is something I love to do and I'm actually good at it. So I decided to turn it into a business. Basically, I feel like my very first day in my first psychology class in undergrad, everybody was falling asleep and I was like sitting in the front wide awake paying attention. And it was just, I don't know, it was interesting to me. And I continued to take psych classes. And then once I realized I needed another degree, because a 4-year degree in psychology is like, what do you do with this? I decided to go back to school and get a master's degree so that I could eventually go into private practice, which is what I do with my other business. One thing that I've learned from my career path is I feel like you get the best out of your career when you figure out what your passion and your purpose is. For me, my passion is working with people in the mental health capacity. So I love doing that, and I feel like my part of my purpose is also just to really close the financial, the wealth gap for people of color. So even though I work with a variety of people, I'm very transparent about the fact that, my primary focus is the people of color because it's necessary. The impact has been being able to work with several families, help them to not only achieve higher credit scores so that they can gain access. Access is where I feel like people are most impacted with the services that I provide. Because we live in a country, whereas that 3-digit number, that credit score is very important for you to gain access to assets, and assets is the road to wealth. And so, just being able to work with families, helping them to overcome some of these barriers, and gaining access to be able to live the American dream, and as well just teaching financial literacy so that we can close the wealth gap because it's a generational thing. So I teach my children, I teach adults that I hope are teaching their children, and I want those children to teach their children, so that we can just continue to progress. I'm an emotional person, and so sometimes it's hard and you overwork yourself because you don't have boundaries in place. You don't have appropriate, firm boundaries in place, I guess I should say. And so I guess that was something that would have been helpful for me to know earlier on so that I wouldn't feel like I get burnt out so quickly. Well, being in the financial services industry, especially with credit repair, I found that a lot of banks won't even work with, these kinds of businesses because they consider it to be risky. And so just, wanting to make sure that I'm being 100% ethical, I wanted to learn exactly what was to be expected. I'm a social worker, so I have a state license and there's a code of ethics that I have to follow. So I just kind of incorporate that into my business practices. But I also wanted to know, from a professional standpoint, from a business that literally does this, walk me through the process. What is it that I need to do? I need to make sure that things are consistent on my website and that things are consistent in my, service agreements. And so just making sure that I'm delivering customer service 100%. And again, being in the financial services industry, I think that um, it's a little more reassuring, I guess, for people to know that okay, I can find you on the Better Business Bureau website. I can read real customer reviews, and I can go to your website and I can know that you are a legitimate business because there's just a lot of unethical people that are in the world and that are in this financial services industry. People exchange a lot of very personal information. They give me a lot of personal financial stories, and I don't like to take that for granted, so I wanted to become accredited so people feel most comfortable working with me. Well, you have to build a relationship with people, because I also do individual financial counseling, and that is a 6-month program, and we meet biweekly, and it's individual sessions. I wouldn't want to facilitate something like that in a large group because people are again sharing personal financial, and they're coming to me for help. And so I think that trust is very important for me to, whether if it's virtual or in person, for a person to be able to tell me, well, I had a foreclosure or whatever the case may be. It's a lot of shame and it's often a lot of guilt, when people are trying to recover their finances from decisions that they made in the past. So I feel like trust is a foundation that I have to build from the beginning to get a person to even open up to me so that I can help them. I feel like a project like this definitely allows me a platform to be able to share not only just the services that I provide and possibly send new clients my way, but also just allows me a platform to tell my story, talk about my passions, talk about my purpose, and also to inspire other people of color to just take a leap of faith and go into business for yourself.